Welcome to Bets on Bets on Bets, Off the Ball Network's premier gambling show on Saturday mornings for the college basketball slate. We get you ready for college basketball Saturday over here. I'm your host, Kenneth Cotterill from the Shooter Shoot Basketball Podcast. I'm joined by my college basketball counterpart at the network. That's Walker Bailey. Walker, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. It's another really big Saturday. Maybe for some overshadowed by NFL playoffs, but I mean, until that gets started, I'm going to be on the couch, making a dent and watching a lot of college basketball today. And we've got a lot of good games early too, which is great. You can watch a lot of your top 25 matchups and, maybe watch Bills Pats later tonight. So,
yeah, definitely. I am excited for today's slate. We got a lot of good ranked games out there. Definitely a lot to watch. We're going to chat pretty briefly here about a game that we're going to be watching for sure each. But last week, Walker, you had the better week. You went 2-1. I went 1-2. I had a couple of really close calls last week, but that's the way that betting goes. When you're going to bet the spread, sometimes teams don't cover. As guys at the network like to say, great teams cover, and a couple of them didn't last week, unfortunately. But we've got some great picks for you here today. I've got 3. Walker's got 3. In and out in 20 minutes. That's what we're all about here at Bets on Bets on Bets. But I want to remind our listeners that this show is sponsored by BetUS. If you live in the U.S., head over to BetUS for all your sports betting needs. They have the fastest payouts in the industry and offer a 125% signing bonus when you use promo code OFFTHEBALL in all caps at sign up. So head over to BetUS today and let's make some money. So, Walker, with that, let's get right into it. What's your game to watch today in college basketball? We've got a couple of great ranked matchups out there, but which one is you tuning into?
Yeah, I'm watching Tennessee, Kentucky pretty closely. Tennessee's had a lot of issues on offense, and I really just kind of want to see if they can bounce back. Kentucky also kind of lacks that signature win, and they have a chance to kind of get that here at home today. Also, Joby Hall, legendary Kentucky basketball coach, died this morning. So I think it's going to be an emotional day at Rupp, and I think it's going to be a celebration of his life. And I think it's going to be, I think the basketball is going to be really good too. So I'll be all eyes there and just seeing if Tennessee can find a way to score enough points to beat Kentucky in Rupp.
Yeah, that's going to be a great matchup for sure. One that I'm going to be tuning into. The other one that I'm tuning into is Texas and Iowa State, because Texas was a team that we really liked coming into the year. They struggled a bit out of the gate, and they're starting to right the ship a bit. And then you've got on the other side Iowa State, who started out red hot, and then recently they've lost quite a few games. So that's one for me. I think it's a spot that I like Texas personally. It's not on my betting card today, but it's a spot that I think they can pull it out. But it's one that I'm going to be tuning into. Are you going to check out this game at all today?
Yeah, I will be, and it's probably one that I end up betting later, but it's not one that I have right now. And it's one of those tight lines where as long as it's under a possession, either team you like, you can kind of hop in on that action either way. But yeah, I do kind of lean Texas. I think Iowa State's a little bit overvalued in the market right now, and people kind of forget where they came from because they started so hot. So it may be one of those things where they start really hot and you kind of temper expectations, and we'll kind of get back to their accurate value later on in the year.
Yeah, I think they're going to come back down to earth. I just don't see them. I didn't think that they were a top 5 team in the conference coming into the year. Then they started out red hot. So I think that they're going to come back down to earth in a big way. But Walker, let's get right into it. What's your first bet today on the slate?
Yeah, we'll go to my favorite spot. I'm taking Arkansas +7. And again, I took Tennessee last week on the show and bet against LSU. And then I came back Tuesday and took Florida and bet against LSU. And I lost both. And so I'm betting against LSU again today. So my thing with LSU is, and I call them a paper tiger, they give up a ton of wide open looks, and that's just not a formula for sustainable winning. And when you go in and look at opponent shooting percentages, opponents are shooting 26% from 3 and 63% from the free throw line against LSU this year. And that's stuff that's due to regress to a mean. Like, you're not just going to continue to, you can't defend free throws. Teams aren't just going to randomly continue to shoot that poorly. So when you get that positive regression, I think you're going to see teams have really hot shooting performances against LSU in bunches here. And I think Arkansas, coming off this large win against Missouri, where they kind of figured some things out, and they're a team that's got shooters and has scores, and they're going to get up and down. I think it's a spot where they can go in and they're going to have those open looks. And I think it's a team that can really make LSU pay and knock them down. It's also a team, I think, that has the size and the physicality to compete with LSU on the glass. And that's really important when you play LSU.
Yeah, Arkansas, I took them last week, unfortunately, when they went up against A&M, and it didn't work out. But they're a team that I think they're not playing to their potential right now, but I think that can change at any moment because I do think this is a talented team in the SEC. Getting 7 points against LSU today, I think it's a great spot, so I really like the bet. My first one today, I'm rolling with Marquette Moneyline versus Seton Hall. I mean, Seton Hall's the ranked team in the matchup, but Marquette are at home for this game. They've won 3 in a row. They're the better shooting team all around when you look at the two of them, and they distribute the ball really well. They're one of the best in the country when it comes to the assist category, but the only thing that could hurt them in this game would be the turnovers. They do average quite a few more per game than their opponents in Seton Hall, but I think it's a great spot for them at home to pick up a big win, a quality win over a ranked team. So I'm rolling with Marquette. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I like Marquette too. I think the other thing with Shaka's teams is they're going to create turnovers. So, you can almost you can have a few more turnovers if you're turning the opponent over and just not falling so far behind the possessions count. So I think Marquette will create turnovers. I think they'll have success shooting the ball, and they're at home, and they'll have a crowd behind them. And I do like the spot for Marquette, and that they're going to get up for a ranked team coming to their place. And I think the line tells you that as well. With Marquette laying a short number against Seton Hall.
Yeah, this is a spot too where I think Marquette needs to pick up some quality wins when we start talking about tournament time. You get a quality win against a team like Seton Hall, and I think it goes a long way in the committee considering you, because I think this is one of these teams that late in the year we're going to be wondering whether they're going to get in or not. So yeah. I think this is a great spot. What's your second bet for today?
Yeah, so I also have Mississippi State -1 against Alabama. It's a similar spot to Marquette. Alabama's traveling to Starkville. Mississippi State, a team that kind of was labeled as a dark horse in the SEC early in the year and hasn't really played up to that expectation so far, despite, having a lot of talent. ACC Player of the Year or preseason ACC Player of the Year, one or the other. Garrison Brooks transferred in. DJ Jeffries came in from Memphis. Shaquille Moore from NC State. Iverson Molinar, who's a draft prospect, is running the point. It's a deep, talented team. They hope to have Tolu Smith back today, which will be a huge boost inside in terms of handling the glass against Alabama. And you kind of look back in this matchup, and Mississippi State's had some success. They laid the exact same figure here in Starkville a year ago against Alabama and won the game outright. So I kind of I'm going back to the well there. I was on Mississippi State at that point, and I'll be on them again here today. I think you see the strength in the line to Mississippi State laying a short figure against an Alabama team on the that's coming on the road to Starkville to play Mississippi State. So I'm laying the point with Mississippi State to beat Alabama, and I think that Mississippi State kind of gets their first signature win of what I think are going to be more than one to come for the Bulldogs down the stretch in SEC play.
Yeah, this is a game that I faded just because I don't like the pick'em here because I am high on Alabama this year, but I do think them being at home obviously major advantage there. So I wish you the best of luck on that one. My second bet today, I'm taking Arizona and Utah under 158. It's a really steep line, and it's because Arizona's consistently hitting 80 points. Like I actually took their under earlier in the week, and it ended up hitting because I think the line then was 152.5. The thing is, when you're playing bad teams like a Utah that likes to slow it down, like they're in the bottom 100 in the country in pace, so they want to get into their half-court offense, and they're not really looking to get out and run. I have concerns with that because they're the 138th ranked offense, and they're going up against the 7th ranked defense today. So the spot of, like, I can't take the spread. I can't take a -20. Like, I just can't get myself to do it. But when I'm looking at 158, Vegas is telling me that they think Arizona's going to hover around 90 points today. I don't know if they're going to quite get there. Like, I think it's going to be in the 85 to 63 type range, somewhere around there. So I really like the under in this game today. This is more so me just fading Utah actually being able to get up and score some points against this quality Arizona defense. But what do you think of the spot?
Yeah, I like that spot too. And then it's a spot too where if Utah gets to their game and slows the pace down, it's one like you could see if you follow your live totals during the game to see where they sit. You could see this over killed pretty quickly if Utah has any success slowing tempo down and Arizona's not shooting the lights out is one of those that could go like, I mean, if you bet an over here or even just staying around the total, I mean, you pretty much have to get buckets from the get go and never stop. And it's one of those where you have some margin for error here. And if Utah gets into their game at all and slows the game down and Arizona's defense plays well, then you're going to be in a spot where you may be sitting really and be really happy with where you're sitting about 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah, it's a ton of points for college basketball. And when you have a team that doesn't play quickly, I just don't see a scenario where Utah at best is going to get 65 points today, maybe 70. And then you're relying on Arizona to absolutely blow the doors off of them, which they're capable of. We know that they've blown out some teams this year, but it's just a line that I really like. As you said, you get a first half where it's like 40-30 at halftime, then you're looking really good going into the second.
Well, and just even if Arizona blows the doors off of them, they have to play with such a pace and such an efficiency that they're scoring in the low 90s or the high 80s. And that just doesn't feel like, I mean, if you want to bet on the likelihood of a team scoring at that level in a college basketball game, you'll bet against it pretty regularly. So.
For sure. So what's your last bet for today before we get out of here?
Yeah, I took Kansas State plus 4.5 against Texas Tech, or plus 4 actually, I think. And I think now you can get it at 5.5. I just like the spot for Kansas State at home. Texas Tech's off really 3 huge emotional wins. You beat Kansas, and then you go on the road and beat Baylor, and then you come home for what I thought would be the letdown spot against Oklahoma State, and you blow the doors off of them. And now you're going on the road to Manhattan to play Bruce Weber's bunch. And I kind of just expect an emotional letdown. And now I'm a little bit concerned because Terrence Shannon is back today for Texas Tech. And I think that's probably why you see the shift in the line as they officially dressed him out and he's going to go. So I still like the spot for Kansas State. I think it's going to be a slow, ugly game that comes down to the last few possessions. And with that, I'll take the points. I'll take, Texas Tech, who's been shooting really hot, but has not been a great shooting team all year. I'll take some shooting regression there, and maybe we just kind of see some cold shooting here, and just kind of and it's an 11 a.m. tip, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So you kind of early in the morning, I think maybe Tech just kind of rolls out of bed for this one, and Kansas State is obviously getting up for this game, especially with everything Texas Tech's done recently. So I just expect a max effort performance from the Wildcats at home here with a chance to get a really quality win against Texas Tech.
I think it's a letdown spot too because they do have Iowa State on Tuesday, so they might be overlooking Kansas State a bit today. Yeah, as you said, they're coming off 3 major victories that we probably didn't anticipate. Like you could see them getting 1, maybe 2, but to get all 3, I think was really impressive by them. And they might just overlook this Kansas State team. They see them at 8-7, one of the lower teams in the Big 12, but I think it's a great spot for you to get that letdown spot as far as Texas Tech goes.
Yeah, letdown and a sandwich spot. You mentioned Iowa State, and that Iowa State game's a revenge game because they went to Ames with 7 players and almost won the game, but Iowa State was able to pull it out there at the end by 4. And so it's a revenge spot too, where Texas Tech maybe looks ahead to Tuesday or Wednesday whenever they play, thinking, all right, we're going to get back, we're healthy now, so we're going to get after Iowa State. So I kind of expect a letdown spot here and maybe an outright Kansas State win, and then we come back and look at Texas Tech in the midweek.
Yeah, and it's not just Iowa State. Their next 3 is Iowa State, West Virginia, and then Kansas again. So this is kind of that lower spot where, you expect them to come in and win comfortably, but they might just overlook it. So I really like the spot there. My last one, I'm going with Michigan State -8 versus Northwestern. It's since moved to -9, but I still like it there. I just think it's a great spot here for the Spartans to win big at home. They are 8-0 at home this year. They've won their last 9 in a row, 9 of their last 10. I mean, Northwestern, they're 1-2 on the road. They're on a 4-game losing streak. A lot of those games were close, but a lot of those games were at home. So I do think that, Northwestern did lose to this team on January 2nd by 6, so it was a close game. But now you're heading back to Michigan State's place, and I think it's a great spot for them to come out and pick up a big win in the Big Ten. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I do too. I was really high on this Northwestern team coming into the year. I thought for sure that this was a team that was going to play in the NCAA tournament. I thought it was a team that was going to be in the upper echelon of the Big Ten and really surprise some people, and they've kind of let down. So I've bet against them a few times, and I don't really think it's a team that has the mental or physical energy to go into East Lansing and get up and play a really strong game. I think it's one of those that maybe they hang around for a half, maybe even 25, 30 minutes. And then, Michigan State just kind of pulls away at the end and ends up winning by 14 or 15. And the game was never in doubt.
Yeah, I don't see a scenario where Northwestern wins this game at all. I do think that Michigan State being at home, I just really love the spot. So, Walker, this was a ton of fun, man. Excited to watch some college basketball today. I know we'll be DMing back and forth, I'm sure, about some of the games. But before we get out of here, if you're a Canadian listener, head over to Bet99 for all your betting needs. In Canada, you get a sports welcome bonus, which is a 100% matched bonus up to $600. Just use the promo code shooters at sign up. No caps in that one. We got to take care of our US and our Canadian listeners. We got to do that. So go and check out the Off the Ball Network betting thread as well. That went live about 20 minutes ago before we came on the air here. So we're going to be posting some plays in there throughout the day. Keep an eye on it. I know Walker's big into the golf right now. I've been keeping an eye on it as well to see if there's some value there heading into the weekend with Russell Henley out in front. But
yeah, the Russell Henley plus, I think it's the plus 3,000 ticket or whatever it is. I'm just sitting there kind of like, all right, he's minus 120 to win. You can't really do anything now. Just sit there and pray.
Definitely. So go and check out Off the Ball Network Substack as well. Check out my Substack, all the great work that Walker does over at One Shining Pod as well. We got a lot of great stuff happening. It's also NFL today, so stay tuned. We posted those plays Pat and I did earlier this morning, so go and check those out. We got a couple of great games on the slate here today. But for those of you who tuned into the live show, we really appreciate it, and we will see